Hey guys, it's Tatas Tuesday, and what are we looking at here? We are looking at an image of the brass rail. I don't know why Google Maps has a bunch of firefighters in the foreground, but that's okay. We're looking at the brass rail today because it's a well-known strip club in downtown Toronto. And there's a lot of drama right now surrounding a muckraker site, which I'm not going to name because for people who haven't been on Twitter and who are not aware of what's going on, I don't want anybody to feel tempted to go look at the thing or defend me or anything like that. We're just going to talk about the issues inherent in what happened. I don't want to get into a war or anything like that with somebody. I goofed around about it for a couple days. It's done. I don't like the amount of fear and bad feelings that are going around because the thing was a collection of cheap shots. I described it as misogynist whack-a-mole because it hit everything. Apparently, I was a fat stripper that worked at a high-end strip club who was had two miscarriages and at least one abortion. My dad beat my mom. I was molested by a relative. It just went on and on and on and on. And the funniest part, which carried over from something called a shoot stream, the preceding night, which I didn't even know what a shoot stream was. It's apparently a bunch of people get on Google Chat and Google, whatever they call it, Google Talk or whatever that streaming service is, right, to YouTube, and they just trash a person. And one of the, pretty much the only accusation leveled at me was I was a fake Jew. And when I first heard this, I'm like, what? That's crazy. Why would anyone think I'd impersonate a Jewish person for the purposes of the internet? So, I went around my house. This is kind of a funny thing. And took pictures of the kosher labels on my my cupboards and my Shabbos candles and my Passover books. And that led to a very funny conversation with somebody's like the Concise Family Seder. And I said, I have the other one, but I loathe it. And then I took a picture of the big one versus the small one. And it was all laughs. Of course, they claimed I had that was a, what did they call it? A schizophrenic meltdown. Yeah. See, there's trolls right now monitoring everything I say on Twitter. I wouldn't even call them trolls because trolls aren't emotionally invested in something. They're doing it for laughs. These guys are legitimately angry. They're the textbook fear and hatred of women type, which is why I use the word misogyny. I don't like using the word misogyny, but in this case, if the shoe fits. And to me, this whack-a-mole of accusations which conflict with each other, is an indication of someone that's just so angry they can't keep their story straight. And I mean, according to them, I'm a parasite on my husband and I only get work through them, but I had an abortion. Guys, learn to misogyny better. If I'm a parasite, if I'm a gold digger, I'm going to want to have that kid because that means child support. You know that thing you hate? So it's that kind of stuff, the idea that I'd be fat and they found pictures of me that I'd given to another article. A reporter had asked for childhood pictures and pictures of me when I was younger. And so I sent him some pictures growing up because I was a fat kid and I don't hide from that. And I've said that myself. And the thing is that a person as fat as I was wouldn't have gotten a job at the brass rail. But in their little minds, somehow I did. I'm that good. But then I got into a difficult situation, and this is where the title of this video comes from. I'm not going to deny being a stripper without having a conversation about it because I don't feel like even if I had been a stripper, you guys would have heard that from me. Okay. It would have hugely benefited me to have had that experience, because it's one of the few sort of, legal, but, sort of predominantly female marginalized things. Worked with a lot of porn stars, did night calls radio, was on Playboy TV sets a lot, not a TV set, the set of a Playboy TV show. But stripping, I've been in strip clubs. I've never been in the brass rail, ironically. But I have been in other less nice strip clubs for events. So where did they get this name, you may wonder? Well, for those of you who are previous viewers of the old TV show I did and produced, Ed and Red's Night Party, the brass rail was where Ed always talked about going. So the most likely explanation for where they got that name was they found the YouTube account of the old Ed the Sock stuff. Actually, I know they found that because they got a picture of me playing the penis flute from that one episode as well. And so it makes sense that they've seen it. And we talked about the brass rail a lot. We had staff that did dance at brass. Some of the dancers in the show and some of the hot tub girls did work there. And I just never did. And it's a pretty high-end place. I mean, it's the place where celebrities go when they come to Toronto. So the idea that they'd hire a fat girl is not plausible. But I don't want to just, like I said, come out and say I'm not a stripper. Why? Because for a similar reason that certain Hollywood actors don't deny rumors they're gay. They feel that fuels homophobia by making being gay something that's somehow bad or career destroying. And the reality is being gay at one point would hurt your career if people found out. And unfortunately, I mean, the motivation behind these accusations is that calling me a stripper or accusing me of being an ex-stripper is somehow going to hurt me, either emotionally or professionally or personally or whatever. And that was the big miscalculation in this whole ridiculous litany of accusations that they put out there. And, since we've been looking at this image a while, I'm going to switch to something from, one of my favorite game series, Saints Row. I'd really deny being a stripper and then say how much I enjoy this game. The idea that I would have been a stripper and hid it, not told you guys, is silly. And people who have listened to this channel know why. I have been very supportive of sex work. I am in favor of the destigmatization of exotic dancing, of pornography, and I'm even pro legalized prostitution. There was a time when I wasn't, when I was younger, but the more I found out about the issue and the more I learned and talked to people and my opinion changed. And one of the big things that changed my mind was going out to Finland and touring a storefront dominatrix's business. And I had never seen anything like this before. It was for the show. And I saw how these women worked. I saw how they lived. I talked to them. I hung out with them as people. And it's like, all right, in this country, this sort of sex work, even though there's no sex as a dominatrix, but it's legal there and it's a storefront business and, people can like walk in. Although apparently they prefer you book an appointment so that they can make sure their urine is the correct flavor that you prefer. I'm not kidding, guys. You pay extra for that. And that's the whole thing about it. You pay, right? And experiences like this evolved my thinking into what my opinions are today. And the reason I think I offer video games and feminist criticism is a lot of people comment on these fictionalized depictions of strippers, prostitutes, other types of sex workers, porn stars, that sort of thing. But they don't really know anything about the real life people in these industries, right? I do. I've talked to these people. I've worked with these people. I've covered their stories. I've been on porn sets where people were having sex. And it does normalize after a while. The mystique of porn decreases significantly when you've been on a few sets. But it sort of becomes normal. It's like any job, you know, if you're a paramedic, you're around blood a lot. And so sort of blood becomes normalized and you don't have that reaction that a regular person would. But it's also made me understand that, you know, respectable women, there's this perception that we don't do these sort of things. And the motivation behind this very nasty series of things on YouTube and articles and all that stuff is as best I understand, because they won't talk to me directly. They said I could come on the shoot stream and talk to 8 people on my own. They offered, out of the goodness of their heart, they offered me that. And then I said, no, I'll talk to you privately, and that's it. And then they compromised that I could come on and talk to the host for an hour, and then those 8 people would tear me apart after that conversation was done. Gee, why didn't I take that offer? You know, it's so tempting. But that's them being able to say, they offered me the opportunity to debate them. And I refused. But why the hate? Why the hate? Because I'm a feminist. And for some odd reason, these guys are so angry and so fearful of that idea, because they're trying to prove at the same time that I am this insanely radical feminist because I didn't like The Witcher 2 and didn't like the E3 trailer, the gameplay trailer for The Witcher 3. Ironically, a content that was in that trailer was cut from the game. There were no random encounters where women were hiding in shacks trying to escape a mob of slavering men. So, you know, seems like someone at that developer saw the light and took it out. But they think I'm this closet radical feminist for that reason. But at the same time, I'm a stripper who's, you know, a trophy wife as well. It doesn't make any sense. And fear and hatred don't. And this is the problem, is that this sort of thing is a poison that's being injected into the internet. And the problem is that the internet should be a very good venue for discussions of this sort. It gives a lot of people the ability to access information and debate and exchange ideas and have sort of a free and open idea of things. But that's not what's happened. That's not what's happened to the internet. The internet has subdivided into a series of echo chambers so that people can feast on their own prejudices and winnow out any information that doesn't match their confirmation bias. And the problem with that is that certain groups seem very, very plentiful on the internet. And then you get out in the real world and you realize they're this tiny minority. But they seem huge. They seem huge on the internet. And in gaming, unfortunately, there's this one pack of anti-feminists. And, you know, I apologize to the, you know, moderate men going their own way types like that who have correctly pointed out that not all men's rights activists are anti-feminists. Not all men going their own way are anti-feminists. There's some bad eggs that are both, but not all of them are. And I didn't know that before I talked to them. See, talking works. And so anti-feminist is the correct term. These are people that just exist to try to undermine the progression of women's rights. Not just in North America. That's what they claim, but it's not so. It's all over the world. On the internet, there isn't a way of controlling how many people get to talk at the same time. And so they just use these swarm and dogpile tactics to try to shout someone down. And that's what these guys are trying to do to me. Now, it's that, that Bugs Bunny moment of, they don't know me too well, do they? But they'll figure out eventually. I just wanted to talk about this stuff because there are a lot of people who are like, oh, they're really bad trolls. They're really bad trolls. Watch yourself. Guys, what are they going to do to me? It's the internet. They've already put me on a spam bot on my Twitter. And they were really stupid because instead of just signing me up for useless stuff, they actually signed me up for a spam bot that links me to the shoot stream about myself so I know who did it, so I can ignore it. And the funny thing they don't know is I get so much Twitter traffic anyway that when I sign on to Twitter on a desktop or laptop computer, it automatically filters out messages, so I only see messages from people I've talked to before. So anybody new doesn't display. That's how Twitter handles high volume accounts, for those of you who don't know. So I can just, not use my phone app and just use my TC Twitter app for the foreseeable future and have no change in experience whatsoever. They've also been doing these little pink graphics of things I've said. That stopped when I started deliberately posting things and daring them to make a graphic. And obviously they were unflattering things about them. And this is the reality, is these guys are a nuisance. They're not scary. They're not a manifestation of mean world syndrome. They're not a guy with a knife waiting in a dark alley, waiting to do bad things to some unarmed woman. They're just little jackholes on the internet. And I was going to call them cretins, but I read somewhere yesterday that cretin is an ableist term, so I'm trying to avoid it. It's too bad because I like the word cretin, but it's not good enough to offend somebody with who is neuroatypical. So that's basically what's going on. And this sort of thing is why I do still identify as a feminist. It's not because of this, mattress girl stuff. It's not because of these movements about safe spaces and all this stuff. It's just because of this simple thing that, is there a male equivalent to saying somebody used to be a stripper? Is there a male equivalent to claiming that somebody had a miscarriage or abortion? I can't really think of one. I can't think of an equivalent attempted smear. And, this idea that it's assumed that I sponge off my husband for work, and that's the sort of stuff that is going to be an issue for getting more women into the gaming industry, because let's face it, we're male dominated right now in the West. And I've got a very interesting interview coming up next week that's going to show how that's not the same in Japan. But in the West, AAA video game studios are overwhelmingly male dominated. And so the women coming into the workforce are vulnerable to these smears that shouldn't matter at all, but they all do. And there's a huge amount of media awareness and media literacy that comes into this stuff. Knowing what to look for, looking for certain tells, knowing when something has an air of credibility to it, and when someone is just throwing things at the wall and seeing if they stick. And those little, things that Opposed itself are shining examples of that. There's no fat strippers at the brass rail. Like, guys, do your freaking research. You had the opportunity to go to a strip bar and do like on the ground research to make sure you got it right and you turned it down, you're losers. That was a joke, guys. Don't get mad at me for calling somebody a loser on the internets. But those are the things you look for to see if an article is credible. And like I said, the article was marked parody and people still believed it because they talked about a source. Guys, a site marked parody with a disclaimer that is written by a known neo-troll. I don't even know what a neo-troll is, but this guy self-identifies as one. That's not something you should take at all seriously. But source, there must be something. No, there's no source, guys. There is no one who could possibly provide them with that information because the information's not there. And some people could say, oh, well, they went and they lied. Somebody who worked with me would make up better lies than that. They would make up things that were much more plausible. And they missed glaring things that would have sort of fallen along the same lines that, in terms of lady things, that someone who did work with me or did go to school with me would have known and they didn't get. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, you little shits. You're going to have to find out for yourself. And that's the thing, is that, like I said, if I had been a stripper, I would have said so by now. They went through and used so much information that I'm like, yeah, I disclosed. They know the neighborhood I lived in because I've talked about it on videos on this channel. They know my parents split up because I've talked about a stepfather, as well as a biological father. They did get wrong which parent I lived with after my parents split. And a person who actually knew me in school would have known that. They got wrong certain details about my working situation as well, which somebody who actually worked with me would have known. So there is no source. A source would have lied more convincingly. So this is just somebody trying to use everything they can to make somebody who happens to be a woman look bad. And I'm sure there's things that I can think of them. But the funny thing is, these are all things that have been leveled against the guy who hosted this article. He didn't even have the guts to write it himself. He got somebody else to be a guest contributor to the website, which is such a coward move. I mean, man, if you got a beef with me, have a beef with me. Don't hide behind your buddy so you can be arm's length. Like, come on. You want to fight me? You want to go? You want to go? What, are you scared of a girl? Yeah, you are. Every sign points to the fact that they're scared of a girl. But like I said, the funny thing is that the things you fling at a guy to make him look bad, these are all things this guy has been trolled with. The fact that he has a small dick, the accusation that he raped somebody behind an Arby's, and the fact that it's an Arby's. That's the mark of a good troll, right? You say something that people can look at and immediately realize this is garbage. Like, it's so lame. The detail there is what makes that brilliant. That's a good troll. And that's why I'm not really concerned about this. It's loud now. It's annoying now. A bunch of people have their knickers in a twist. But it will blow over. These people are not scary. And I wanted to address this precisely because of the fear and the apprehension I'm seeing from people. Guys, it's the internet. It's not real. Okay? If it gets to the point where it's real, there are law enforcement entities and company things and things that can be done. But this is just somebody running their mouth. But I didn't want people to think I was threatened by the idea of being a stripper. I didn't want anybody to feel like this is something that is really going to get to me. There were other things I am horrendously pissed off about because I just think they violate the rules of fair internet comment. I'm not mentioning those in this piece because I do think they do go below the belt, and they're gonna have to just live with that and live with the reality that they went there and they can never undo that. And I do believe that that sort of thing eats at people. So, those are the sorts of things that those are on them. And, the sheer reaction, um, it's pretty funny to see people complain. And this is how I kind of know they're not trolls, is that they played the same trick on other people. They made sort of the same accusations, and they were people that sort of the collective they're around didn't like, so they were rewarded from it. And then And then they did the same routine on somebody who's more respected and got told off. And they complained about that. Now, if they were really trolls, then they wouldn't have any issue with that. They'd be laughing their butts off that everybody's all upset. But that they got upset about that. These guys are really easy to rattle, and these guys are really easy to push. And that's why, like, don't worry, guys. Don't worry, please. Like, don't be scared. Don't feel like you have to muzzle yourself because of creeps like this. That's what they want. That's what they want. They just want people who believe that everybody should be decent to everybody else, whether you're identify as a feminist or not. I don't care. I don't care if somebody identifies as a feminist. I do, and I don't think there's really much more to say on this issue, yeah? But that's quite the rack on this cop stripper, though, isn't it? Like, look at that. That is a half cantaloupe in her shirt. But it's good, right? It's good. Boobs are good. So that's it for Tatas Tuesday. We end on Tata. Still need a song. But thanks for listening, guys. And for people who aren't aware, thanks for sticking through this. I hope you still found it somewhat informative, just as sort of an example of, not everyday sexism, some pretty unique sexism. But and we can actually call this sexism, right? Like, this isn't he complimented my hair, or he touched me on the arm and I didn't consent. This is, you made up that I had a miscarriage and abortions. This was a stripper, and like, it's like a bingo card, right? What bad things can we say about the girl? What bad things can we say? Oh, there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and that's bad. And I would be mad if somebody said that about my mom or my sister, and I'd be pretty pissed off if somebody dared say that, anyone in my family, any respectable woman would be this. But the reality is, none of it happened.